Hello, this is a video about dimensions, 2D, 3D, 4D, whatever, and how I think our understanding of them is not quite as simple. I mean, our understanding is simple, but I don't think it's as simple as that. I'll show you why. Here, I have a button. It says History Matters, basically. It's for the museum. Anyway, we can move this in 3 dimensions. Now, people's usual understanding of the 3 dimensions that we live in is up and down, that's one. Left and right, that's one. And away and towards, that's another. And that's the 3 dimensions that people have become accustomed to. Now, also, there's rotation. There's not just movement. There's also rotation. So you can rotate this around. That's, if you imagine a line coming from above, it's rotating around the vertical axis. Yeah? So, with the horizontal axis as well, it can rotate around the horizontal axis. If you imagine a line going horizontally that way, then it can rotate around the horizontal axis. Now, if you imagine a line coming from behind, that's the one where it moves that way, it can rotate around that line as well. So that's 3-dimensional. Now, people think they've got a hold on 2-dimensional. Now, I want you to imagine this piece of paper, this button, or badge, as we call it in the UK. I'll call it a button. This button is, I want you to imagine that it's now in the paper. I'm not going to lift it off the paper, so I'm using what people recognize as 2 dimensions. So, the button can move the horizontal and the vertical, but it can't move depth. So that's 2 dimensions. Now, here comes the tricky part. How about rotation? If I want to rotate that in 2 dimensions, if this is truly 2-dimensional, a flat surface, then this button should be able to rotate on 2 different axes. But if I want to rotate this on 2 axes, I can do it that one, but hold on. Is that the vertical axis that it's rotating on? Or the horizontal axis? No, actually, this is rotating around the depth axis. It's rotating around this one. If you rotate that, it is not rotating around one of the 2 axes that it can move along. If we try to rotate it around the 2 axes that it can move along, hold on, no, that's a 3-dimensional movement, isn't it? Because it pops up out of off the paper. It pops up off the 2-dimensional plane. So, is this actually 2-dimensional? Well, no, because if you consider rotation, it can only rotate around one axis, and that axis is not even the same axis that it can move along. So this is essentially this is a 3-dimensional way of thinking. Even though most people understand it as 2-dimensional, it actually isn't. It's still a 3-dimensional way of thinking, because the rotation of an object is operated along a 3rd axis. So when you think about 2D and 3D, try and remember this. Try and remember the fact that it's not as simple as some people have led you to believe. Now, what actually is 2D, I'm not sure. I think it's something that might be very difficult to get our head around if it is even a real thing. Let me know what you think.